Revelation 3167. From the 22nd and the 23rd of June 1944. Lot of the spiritually dead in the afterlife. To be spiritually dead is the most terrible fate, both on earth and in the beyond. On earth the human being does not feel this fate as long as he is unharmed by the pleasures of the world. That is, as long as he forgets his soul and thus is not aware of its lifeless state. For only his soul is affected by this, while the body creates earthly pleasures for itself as long as it lives, and does not feel the soul's inactivity, its lack of strength. Only when the soul enters the kingdom of the beyond, when it has shed the bodily shell, does it become aware of its lack of strength and with it the dreadful fate it must now take upon itself, because it did not use earthly life to awaken the spirit in itself to life. Now the opportunity is taken from her, she can no longer be active of her own strength but is in a state of complete powerlessness from which she cannot free herself. She lacks all knowledge, she is enveloped in complete darkness, her surroundings, her state of soul, is lightless, and therefore she is also completely incapable of working in love, for this requires knowledge, and knowledge is light. These souls are indeed still cared for by the beings of light in the beyond, yet since they already rejected everything on earth which pointed to the spiritual kingdom, they are not accessible to the ideas of these beings of light either, and they often remain in utmost poverty, in a pitiful state, for eternities in the same darkness. And as long as they don't want to be lovingly active in the beyond, the lack of strength will not leave them either. Because loving activity first triggers the supply of strength, and loving activity, however, first has to be exercised again in free will, and this will has often sunk to the lowest level due to the adversary's influence from God. On earth the human being has the strength of life at his disposal so that he can awaken his spirit to life at any time. He can end the state of death at any time. He can be active in love because the life force is available to him for this purpose. And as soon as he is active in love, his spirit awakens to life, and this means receiving light and power. The spiritually dead human being knows nothing of things of the spiritual kingdom, he knows nothing of God's rule and activity, of his love and wisdom and omnipotence, he knows nothing of his lowly state, of his former destiny and his apostasy from God, and this ignorance makes him a spiritually inactive creature, for he cannot work according to his destiny but is condemned to inactivity because he does not free himself from it. The spiritually dead human being does not allow anything that surrounds him to have an effect on him, he only sees with the eyes of the body, and he seeks to live out his earthly life in every way, regardless of the spirit which is given to him as a companion to guide him correctly. And at the end of his life the human being can look back on a long, earthly enjoyed life and yet be dead in spirit. And this death is far worse than the now occurring demise of his body, for his soul does not pass away, it enters the kingdom of the beyond through the gate of death, it is conscious of its being and yet completely powerless and lightless, powerless to act and in completely dark surroundings, and it feels this unusually agonizingly because it now desires the previous state of life on earth, where it could work and act according to its will, with all its senses, and no fulfillment comes to it. She is dead and yet has the consciousness of her existence, she is powerless and knows the happiness of possessing strength, she is ignorant and therefore has no means of freeing herself from her state, for she can only receive something in the beyond if she herself gives. The human being on earth cannot imagine the agonies of a spiritually dead soul because he is still in the midst of vitality which he can draw as long as he stays on earth, and because he can be active according to his will. And it already means great suffering and affliction on earth when a person is partially deprived of this vitality, thus he becomes incapable of working and creating due to illness. This condition, which is intensified many times over, is the fate of those who pass spiritually dead into the kingdom of the beyond, who did not awaken the spirit in themselves to life through rightly utilized vitality, through activity in love, who lived on earth, without living spiritually, because they valued earthly life too highly and did not think of their real purpose, which is to form themselves according to God's will, so that the spirit in them may come alive and promote their upward development. Amen.